Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel where I will be talking about life with stage 4 cancer, my own personal journey mainly, and all of the holistic things that I have done in order to help myself heal and thrive even with the stage 4 diagnosis. I was diagnosed in 2016 with a very rare type of sarcoma, which then spread to my lungs and to my bones. And so I'm still living with it now, 7 years later, although my journey has been very up and down. I did share that in my last video a little bit about my journey, so if you want to watch that, you can go back and watch that. So today I wanted to talk about diet. When you first get the cancer diagnosis, I think most people have thoughts about, whether the diet will make any difference at all. A lot of times you go to your oncologist and you ask them this question and they just tell you to eat whatever, just maintain your weight, don't lose weight, make sure that you're eating enough. There are rare times when you do ask an oncologist and they will say try to eat healthier, but that's as far as it'll go. I mean, really, it just depends on who you go to, but the majority of oncologists don't know very much about nutrition and diet at all, and neither do any Western medicine doctors. Not to say that that's all of them, but but that's the general consensus, I believe. So when I started exploring dietary changes, this actually was about 3 to 4 years into my diagnosis. The cancer had already spread to my lungs and it spread to my bones, and I was in pretty bad shape. I was on conventional treatment at the time with an oral chemotherapy pill that I took daily, and I was also on immunotherapy, but none of it was working for me, and the tumors were continuing to grow, and I found myself at a point where I couldn't even bend over, or pick up my kids, and it was just so horrible to be in that state. So I really wanted to do something drastic to change my life and to change my health, and I mean, really just to live. And so desperate times led to, me delving into researching what the best anti-cancer diet would be. So I started off reading some books. The first book I read was very impactful, and it was called You Can Conquer Cancer by Dr. Ian Goller. He had stage 4 osteosarcoma, which he was given about 6 weeks to live, but he decided to make a drastic dietary and lifestyle changes that actually led to his remission, and he's been in remission ever since, and he's still alive today. So that book was really, really helpful for me, and I mostly based my diet off of that to begin with. Of course, later on, I did learn a lot more about other types of diets, like a raw vegan or just vegan diet versus a ketogenic diet, and what that means. So I'm going to pretty much break that down and, tell you what I did, what I think worked for me, and what I think will work for majority of cancer patients. So in the book that I read from Dr. Ian Goller, he basically went with a more vegan, plant-based diet. And of course, this is all organic foods. He took out everything that was processed, and that includes bread and rice and pasta. So it's vegan, but you don't really want to consume so much of the processed types of carbohydrates. So he did encourage to eat, all types of plants, including starches, but kind of like a limited amount. And he did encourage to cook the foods a certain way, not using bad oils like seed oils, so those are your vegetable oils, and to stick with more, just olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, things like that. And he even went into how you cook the food and at what temperature, why to avoid fried foods, barbecued foods, things like that. So basically I copied that, and for the first 3 months I ate only plants. So it was fruits and veggies, but I stuck with low sugar fruits like berries, which are very nutrient dense and has a lot of phytochemicals and beneficial anti-cancer properties. So I ate a lot of those, and then the rest of my day was mostly just eating veggies. I had one raw salad a day, mixed with nuts and seeds and all sorts of stuff, whatever I can throw in there. I mean, it would be a mix of like 10 different veggies at least in my giant salad. Kind of similar to Chris Beat Cancer, where he made that huge anti-cancer salad. So I would eat one of those a day for lunch, and then for dinner, it would be the same thing, except I would saute all of my veggies together and just make a stir fry, except I would use very little oil, and I used mostly water for saute and very little seasoning. Because at that time I was actually kind of looking into the Gerson diet as well. So I think I kind of combined the Gerson diet with that type of diet, the whole foods plant-based diet. And then I also did some juicing in the morning. So my mornings were usually juicing some fruits, and then for lunch it would be a giant salad and nuts and seeds, and then for dinner it would be some sort of a stir-fry concoction, and oftentimes I would eat soups and things like that, and I would have some starches like sweet potatoes just to fill me up, because it was, eating like that is pretty hard, and it's hard to stay full, and it's hard to maintain your weight. I did that strictly for 3 months, and then after 3 months I felt like my body was craving a little bit more protein. So I just couldn't get enough of it from the nuts and seeds that I was eating. So I decided to add fish, and I just ate, of course, all wild caught fish and seafood. Sometimes I would have shrimps and scallops and things like that. And I would make sure that they were from a very clean source. And fish, you want to be eating small fish, because the big fish, they eat all the smaller fish, and they tend to have a lot of mercury and other toxins in there. So I ate mostly like sardines and mackerels, and I did have some wild caught salmon, but I was very specific about not eating big fish like tuna. After that, I think I stuck with that for another 6 months to a year or so, and I continued eating that way for probably 2 years, I would say. After that, I kind of fell off a little bit because I just got really tired of eating like that. And I think it was all the added stress and us moving to another state, because at that time I decided, our family decided to move from California to Georgia. So I was doing really, really well. And just to back up, so after 6 months of eating like that, for some reason I started to just respond to treatment, and I was on the same exact treatment. I was on the immunotherapy and the oral chemo, which wasn't working initially, and my tumors were growing, as I said. But then after I changed my diet, and of course I did other lifestyle things too, which I'm sure helped out a lot. But the diet was a very big key in that, to help me heal my body naturally. So I just really felt so much better. I had a lot more mental clarity. I had so much more energy. My pain just started to dissipate and eventually went away, which allowed me to exercise a lot more, be out and be active a lot more. And it brought so much more joy to my life to be able to spend time with my kids and to be able to go out and do things with them. It allowed for me to go on hikes with my mom every Saturday, which I could not do before. I couldn't even walk. So the diet really just made me feel like I was totally on the right track, and I was, because clearly the scans improved. And it did have some side effects that didn't really, it's weird because I was on the same type of medication prior when I first had the cancer diagnosis, and I was on this medication that kept me stable for a couple of years, but I had horrible side effects with it. I had, hand and foot syndrome, which is when your hands get really sore, your feet gets really sore and sensitive, in your mouth. I had gut issues. I was so fatigued. I just had a lot of side effects on it, but I noticed that this time around, I was on the same type of medication, but I didn't have any side effects. Maybe I did a little bit when the treatment started to kick in, and I had some abnormalities in my blood test results, but symptoms wise I didn't really experience very much. And even my thyroid, which was wiped out the first time that I was on that same type of drug, my thyroid was fine. So I really do think that the diet contributed to this. So I just continued it, and I went off track when we moved from California to Georgia, and I started to cheat a lot more. I would just find myself eating little pieces of bread here and there. I ate a lot more rice. I started eating out more, because I would go out with my friends, and I just felt really good. At the time I actually was taken off of treatment because my scans were showing such good results, And I had this false sense of security that my cancer's healing and I'm off treatment and I can just go back to life as usual. But unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way that that's not how it works. And, now I know that you're really supposed to just keep up with it, at least for a couple of years after your diagnosis. And then, after the healing phase, and then you're supposed to continue that to maintain. But I just kind of went off the deep end. So, but that's okay because I picked myself back up and now I'm back on it and I'm back to doing the same type of diet, which again has really helped me, get out of this dark hole that I got myself in, and I dug myself out, and now I am thriving again. Even though my scans are not clearly showing it yet, but since I went back to the diet in March this year, my scans have been stable. So it's been six to 7 months now that it has been stable. And based on my past experience, I know that it stabilizes before it starts to shrink. So my next scans are coming up in December, and I'm definitely looking forward to it, to seeing some good results. So my takeaway with the whole diet thing is that, number one, an anti-cancer diet must include all whole foods. Whole foods meaning foods that are from the earth, so foods that are freshly made, food that's going to go bad if you leave it out for a day or two, right? So you don't want to be eating foods that are in a box, a can, that are frozen, that's just going to stay in your pantry for a year, right? So that's what I call is dead food, right? So I want to eat food that is alive, because if you eat food that's alive, then that's your body, right? Because our body is just being fed with this stuff. So if you eat dead food, then you're not going to thrive, okay? And you're going to have a lot of nutrient deficiencies. So whole foods is key. Number two would be organic. So as much as possible, I would encourage that you try to get organic foods, because the organic foods are a lot higher in quality. So I always try to get organic if I can. And if I can't find organic, then I try to stick with the dozen 12. So you can find that list of the dirty dozen, of the foods that are that you should buy organic, and because there are certain types of foods that are okay to buy not organic, that's not as bad. So I will look at that list and then try to avoid buying non-organic foods from that dirty dozen list. And then the next thing would be a low carbohydrate type of diet. So it's kind of like a combined ketogenic approach, although a true ketogenic diet is very, very difficult to achieve, because I've actually measured my ketone levels, and even eating starchy vegetables would kick me out of ketosis, or like even a small amount of fruit. So it's really, really hard to be a vegan ketogenic eater, I guess, which I'm sure, it can be done, but I mean, for me, it was so difficult to maintain my weight and, to have to restrict so much foods. And so I, for the most part, didn't really stay in true ketosis, but I did eat a lot less sugar, so definitely no added sugars at all. And that means avoiding even whole grain bread, like bread. There's a lot of different types of bread out there that is supposed to be healthy, but they still have so many ingredients in it, and it's still very high in sugar. So it's hard to find bread unless you make it yourself at home, and you can do that with different types of flours and stuff, but the flours are still carbohydrates. So I just avoided all breads in general. And then rice, quinoa, grains, legumes, I did eat some of those, which maybe like once a day or a couple times a week at the most, if I was really hungry and I really needed to just add something to eat with my sauteed vegetables. So I would have it as like a cup or something, very small amount of mixed rice. So it'd be like wild rice, like black rice, purple rice, I don't know, whatever whole grains I can find. I have like now this mix of rice that is all organic that I buy at H Mart, which is like a Korean market. And so it's like a mix of 10 whole grains that are organic. So I eat that instead of white rice or just plain brown rice in general. So but I still limit the amount that I eat because of the high carbohydrate content. Yes, so low carb, whole foods, organic, and then just kind of flooding your body with nutrients. So you want to pick, the most anti-cancer fruits and veggies out there, like cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Those are super powerful. I made sure to eat a lot of mushrooms every day. I made sure that I ate berries every day. some mushrooms, and then cruciferous vegetables and berries were regular parts of my diet every day that I made sure to consume. And then I would make sure that I would eat plenty of variety to increase the efficacy of my gut microbiome. So I would eat about probably 20 different veggies a week, so that really helped, I think, with making the immunotherapy work better. So so that's basically it. I mean, I think, mostly the anti-cancer diet can be pretty confusing when you're trying to see if it should be keto or if it should be plant-based, like vegan, and should you eat like raw foods or should it be partially cooked? Should you have any meats at all? So there's a lot of, different types of diets that people can follow. And I think overall, it's just really what is best for you. You want to try to experiment as much as possible so that you can see what your body needs. Sometimes you might need a little bit of meat, but other times, if you're in the initial healing stages, like if you are way at the beginning where you have very aggressive cancer, then I would say that juicing and eating a more plant-based and raw plant-based diet is the most helpful, as long as you can tolerate it, depending on what types of treatments you're on. So for the first 3 months during your healing journey, it's really important to be super strict, because if you don't go all in, it's not going to work, So most of the time it's even harder to do that, where you're, just only giving it like 50% instead of 100%. So definitely try to do that for the first few months if you have stage 4 and it's very aggressive. And then after you start to see results, then you can add back in some foods and do more of like a maintenance diet. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. I'm not super hardcore, I do eat fish and I do eat chicken and other organic meats sometimes, but rarely. I would probably have it about twice a week. And then the rest of the food that I eat is all plants, fruits and veggies. And I still stick with like the whole foods regimen. I am a little bit more liberal now about my carb intake. So I will have more grains and more starchy vegetables and things like that. And my mother-in-law makes this really wonderful scones that she puts like dried fruits in with almond flour, and it's really, really good. So that's what I eat for breakfast. So I think that's really just what I wanted to share, and I hope this video wasn't too long, and I'm looking forward to making my next video on a different topic. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week. All right, take care.